Right. Welcome to New Stripe City, a podcast for diehard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, and as usual, my co-host G is back with us. G, how you
Hey,
doing?
I'm doing good. Glad to be back.
Well, today, guys, we wanted to get into a couple of things. We're going to talk about Andy Dalton and how he would fare on other AFC teams. We'll also talk about our thoughts on the Jeremy Maclin situation with the Ravens. We'll talk about the toughest three games on the schedule, and then we'll end things with who's the better receiver between AJ or Antonio Brown. So, kicking things off, G, if you had to have Andy Dalton on another AFC team, because he gets criticized by a lot of the media and everything, they think that he's pretty much a mediocre quarterback. Do you think that he would have success on other AFC teams? And if so, which teams do you think, I guess, he would have success on?
Well, I think it comes down to what our definition of success is. Like, if your definition is of success is just like having a winning season, then I think he could do that for somebody like the Browns. But if you're looking at teams like the Ravens and the Steelers, who are Super Bowl winning teams, I don't think that he would give them that level of success. I think Andy Dalton is a quote unquote winning regular season quarterback. But if you're really trying to get those Super Bowl wins and those playoff wins, I don't think he is that quarterback. And so I don't think he would be successful in Baltimore or in Pittsburgh. But yeah, I think he could bring some level of success to something like Cleveland.
Okay. What about like any other teams around the AFC? Like, say for instance, the Raiders. If he was there
Oh
instead of
yeah,
Derek Carr.
I think it's the same thing. I think that Andy Dalton will get you some wins. Andy Dalton can get you a 12-4 season, but Andy Dalton's not taking anybody to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's AFC. I think that's NFC. I think that's anywhere. If you're a team that's used to getting to the Super Bowl and winning on that level, Andy Dalton's not your quarterback. But if you're just trying to get out of a hole and have a winning season, period, why not pick up Andy Dalton? I think he would be successful.
I think that's fair. So I think what you're saying is that he would definitely still win in other situations, just not on the magnitude of, he's a Super Bowl piece that would put a team into that Super Bowl caliber kind of team.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I
Decent
definitely
player.
tend to agree with that. I think if you put Andy on a team like the Jaguars, I think that they would definitely end up being at least at the least, I'd probably say a wild card team. Just
Right.
because you look at who do they have over there? Blake Bortles, and it just seems like all the guy does is turn the ball over. So it would seem that you would kind of want a guy like Andy Dalton to go in there because he's a guy that won't really try to turn the ball over as we've seen recently. Now, before he kind of was getting up there and turning the ball over, but I don't think anybody turns the ball over like Blake Bortles. But I think that he could make a team like Jacksonville a playoff team. You look at
Right.
the Titans.
Because like if you look
Go
at
ahead.
people like the Jaguars, they got some decent receivers. Gosh, what is I forget the guy's name. One of them was hurt this year. But another dude, I forget, oh man, his name is escaping me right now. But I feel like he's the type of quarterback that would make a receiver look really good. But
Right.
again, he's not going to take them over the edge. But he
And
would be
I
good in
right.
Jackson.
Like you said, I think if he was there with you're talking about Alan Hearns is
Alan
there,
Hearn, that's his
and
name.
then Allen Robinson, and I think they have a
Yeah.
couple of other weapons, Marquise Lee or something like that. I think that he
I
would
know the
be
USC guy.
right. I think he'd be pretty good there, and then they have a pretty decent defense. I definitely think he would win more than I think Jacksonville won 3 to 4 games this year. I definitely think he'd win more than that
Oh yeah,
there.
absolutely.
But when
But
you look
then
at other teams, I think when you look at the Raiders, I feel
I
like
was
the
going to say
Raiders
that.
have a lot of talent there. I think he'd do good there. The Colts, it's kind of interesting because I can't remember the guy's name, but he used to actually be the GM of the Colts, and he was actually thinking of drafting Andy Dalton. He works for the NFL Network now. His name escapes me too, but he said that he was a huge Andy Dalton fan and actually wanted to draft him back in 2011. And I kind of wonder how the Colts would be with Andy Dalton because to me, and I probably am in the minority on this, but I'm one of the people that kind of thinks Andrew Luck is somewhat overrated.
I
Um,
agree.
they call him an elite quarterback now, and I've seen games where the guy has gone out and thrown like 2 picks, like in the actual game. And I think a buddy of mine, he's a Bucks fan. He was actually talking about the year where Matt Hasselbeck was backing him up, he actually won more games than
Oh
Andrew
yeah.
Luck did, and I was like, that's crazy. So I think that Andy would do pretty well there. But the thing that kind of makes me hesitant on that is we look at this past year, and the reason why I feel like he struggled so much, and I mean, I say struggle because from a touchdown passing standpoint, he kind of struggled. From a passing overall standpoint, he actually did pretty good with 4,000 yards. But I feel like the main contribution to that was the offensive line, and we all know Indianapolis has a trash offensive line. So
Right.
I think he'd probably do the same as Andrew Luck would probably do there, maybe a little bit better. It seems like he, in a sense, could probably throw less turnovers.
But
But
But to highlight what you're saying about Andy Dalton and the scoring factor, I think that's one of his biggest drawbacks is the success in getting in the end zone. It's like,
right,
yeah, he can get AJ down the field. There's no denying that. But his actual ability to score and like actually make it a successful drive is kind of lacking there. And I think
right,
that overall what holds us back as the Bengals is the inability to actually score 35 points in a game. Like we'll get
right,
21. We'll get like 24 with the field goal or something like that. But the
right.
ability to just keep scoring and being successful in the end zone, that's Andy Dalton's drawback. One of his major drawbacks, I think. And because of that, I think that's why he won't take any team to the next level. And I agree with you. I think Andrew Luck is overrated in a sense that I think that Andy Dalton would do the exact same thing Andrew Luck has done to the Indianapolis Colts. He might get you a playoff win or two, but he's not going to take you to the Super Bowl. And like Andrew Luck, the whole speculation about, oh yeah, no one's talking about an injury or anything. I don't think he's injured at all. Like Rush is not being as successful as y'all thought he was going to be. And I think that's
Right.
also Andy Dalton.
Right. I agree definitely on that point that you held there with the whole, bringing home and the scoring. Now, I will say Andrew Luck probably has him in that category.
Yeah, he
But
probably, agree.
right. But sometimes I wonder, not saying that Andy isn't good at that, but sometimes I wonder why the offense or why Marvin Lewis or Zampezi hasn't given him the ability to kind of call audibles,
Yeah.
more often. And I know in 2015, when Hugh did give him that ability, he was kind of making changes at the line. So sometimes I wonder, like, okay, is it Andy that audibled into this, or was this what Zampezi wanted to do? Because then it's almost like, wow, what's going on here?
Well, yeah,
But yeah,
like what you great point. Like Hugh Jackson, like that year was our most successful year, I feel like, to date, when you saw things clicking. And that is when Andy Dalton had some more of like authority in making those audible play calls. Because like that's one of my reasons I don't really care for Jay Gruden is I feel like he wasn't aggressive enough. And because he wasn't aggressive enough in his play calling, he didn't give Andy Dalton any sort of authority to make any changes. So it's good, but it wasn't good enough. We saw Andy Dalton doing some great things in 2015 because I think Hugh gave him that lane to do that. And until he gets a lane to kind of do that and play around more with his audible ability, I don't think we're not going to see that success in the end zone, especially for us as Bengals.
right. I definitely agree with you. What if you put Andy Dalton? We obviously know that the Jets are tanking this year. If you put Andy Dalton on the Jets now, mind you, they don't have Eric Decker anymore. They don't have Brandon Marshall. You put Andy Dalton on that team. How many wins do you think that they get this year?
I mean, I just feel like overall the Jets' problems are bigger than a quarterback. So if you insert Andy Dalton, they're still not going to get more than 6 wins this season.
Right.
Like, it's bigger than just the quarterback. They have a lot of things they got to work on. And by them letting go of Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall, like, I don't know what that was all about. But, yeah, I don't think Andy Dalton would make that much of a difference there.
Right.
Still
I
like a
agree with you.
5-6 win season.
The Jets, it's crazy because the Jets get all of this press, but they don't get criticized like us. And it's like they've been, up and down for the longest.
And the thing is, like, especially to me last year, like, they had tools to win. It's just like, what are the court? Like, I don't know. I just feel like Ryan Fitzpatrick could have been more successful than what he was. He had every opportunity to be there. Like, he had those highlight games where it's just like, damn, y'all, like, it's there, but why is it not clicking?
Right. I totally agree. It's always weird to me that Ryan Fitzpatrick, in a sense, he didn't completely start his career with us. I think it started with the Rams. But that 2008 year when he was with us, he was like nowhere near as decent of a quarterback as he is now. So that
Right.
always like throws me off because it's like I remember him being basically trash for us, and now he's out there like, I don't know if he made the Pro Bowl last year. I know he was probably close, not 2016, but 2015 when the
2015. Yeah.
Jets were pretty decent, and I was like, where did he come from? But yeah,
Exactly. It's just like he shows you those like highlights where you're just like, damn, dude, like you are pretty damn good. But then like he'll throw 6 picks in the game. Like, what the fuck?
right,
I don't
exactly.
understand.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I don't know what he has going on. But with that being said, I guess we can go ahead and move on to the next topic here, and we'll talk about Jeremy Maclin to the Ravens. I talked about it a little bit, but we didn't have you on, so I kind of want to get your thoughts on Jeremy Maclin to the Ravens, and what's your opinion on that, G?
Well, I mean, I think it definitely fills a major void that the Ravens have, which is a decent receiver. My only thing about Jeremy Maclin is like his consistency. So I feel like he'll do good in some games, but he's not going to be there with you the whole season, giving you decent numbers for 16 weeks or 17 weeks or whatever it is. So for me as a Bengals fan, I think it's okay. Like y'all can pick up Jeremy Maclin. Like I just hope that when we play them, that's a week that he's not showing up.
Right, I agree. And someone said something funny to me on Twitter because I think I had reposted the question, and somebody said, as long as Joe Flacco is throwing him the ball, you don't have anything to worry about.
No, that's true. Like seriously, like Jeremy Maclin he is very hit or miss. Like he can be a great receiver and look like a great receiver when he's having a good game, but if he's not showing up to play a week, then you'll forget that he's even on the field. And I'm hoping that that's what we're seeing when Joe Flacco's throwing the ball to him when we play.
Right, I agree. And then I feel like you said, he's either non-existent on the field or he's not on the field at all. Because it's like Jeremy Maclin is a good receiver, but ever since Philadelphia, if he's not healthy, then and I mean I can't really remember the last time Jeremy Maclin played a full season. He's like one of those guys that's always gonna run the risk of missing, missing some games. And I think, matter of fact, now that I think about it, I think it was his first year with the Chiefs where he actually made it through the season, and as soon as they got into the playoffs, he had a knee injury again. So it was like, but yeah, I think being that Joe Flacco is still there, I don't think we have anything to worry about. Oh, backpedaling real quick. Do you think that now let's take away the Super Bowl from Joe Flacco? Do you think that Joe Flacco is a better quarterback than Andy Dalton?
No, hell no. Like I feel like that Super Bowl win for Joe Flacco in Baltimore was just like that was the peak for Joe Flacco. Like, and he just looked really good that year. He had a really good year. They overpaid that man. He is no more talented than Andy Dalton, and he's not going to show Baltimore any more than he did that year. Like, that was it for him.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually happy when they paid him that contract and they got rid of. I'm like, okay, so you're going to get rid of Ed Reed. You're going to get, Ray Lewis is going to retire. You're going to get rid of.
That was it.
Yeah, I was like, all right.
That was it for Baltimore.
Anquan Bolden, they just shipped him out. I was like, all right.
Exactly. That was just like they just made all these stupid decisions just to pay a mediocre quarterback who had one great season.
Right, and it all backfired in their face because they tried to go all in on Ray Rice, and we obviously know what happened with Ray. And then Torrey Smith ended up leaving. They didn't pay him. And then who else was it? Oh, the other guy that they did pay, Pitta, he's about to retire now. And
didn't really give them Then he was going to give them. I mean, the only real bigger decision was keeping y'all have right now.
Right, exactly. So G, moving on, we'll go to our third topic of the show, and it deals with the upcoming Bengals schedule. And who do you think which games do you think, are the toughest ones here on the schedule? So if you like, I can go through them for the viewers that are listening. Week 1, we have the Baltimore Ravens. Week 2, we have the Houston Texans. Week 3, we have the Packers, the Browns, Bills, Steelers, Colts, Jags, Titans, Broncos, Browns, Steelers, Bears, Vikings, Lions, and Ravens. Obviously, the AFC North guys are going to count as one option, but yeah. So out of those teams, G, who do you think is going to be the toughest 3 games for us this season?
So, I mean, the biggest one that stands out to me, I know it's really late in the season, but the Monday night game against the Steelers, like, that just pops out because, one, it's the Steelers, and two, it's a primetime game, which, you know, we haven't really been successful at.
Right.
History shows. So, I think that's the hardest, toughest game right there, is to prove that we can beat the Steelers and prove that we can win on Monday night. But aside from that, I think a big game is the Texans. I think for some reason the Texans give us a hard time. And I think being successful against them this season will set a good tone for us throughout the rest of the season. Like, if we can be successful against the Texans week 2, then we can have some success, because I feel like Lions not going to give us too much of a hard time. Titans, it's kind of some competition there. But winning against the Texans will set a tone. And then, of course, the Packers playing at Lambeau, that's going to be a hard game. So those would be my top 3. Texans week 2, Packers at Lambeau Field week 3, and then that Monday night game against the Steelers.
Oh, those are some great picks. I definitely agree with a lot of your sentiments on those, especially with the Steelers on the Monday night. I'm going to have to piggyback off of you and grab that one right up out of there. I think that's going to be the toughest one. Just the Steelers in general. Anytime that we play the Steelers, it's just, I don't know. It's always a close game, but it's always not one that we can kind of just check off the list. Like, I feel like Baltimore, we're more confident in saying, okay, we can go and beat Baltimore once or twice. We can't really say that with the Steelers. They're the only team in the division. Even though we hate them, I still feel like we give them a little bit of respect that, you know, we're knowing that this isn't a gimme game. And especially like you said, Monday night, it's like every single year. It used to be for the longest, I think, until 2015. It used to be, can the Bengals win in prime time? Can we get over that hump? So I definitely agree with you. With all of the eyes on us, with that being a primetime game, I think the NFL knows what they're doing with putting that game on Sunday Night Football. But, yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you on that one. I'm looking at the schedule now. It's hard to go against the Packers at Lambeau, too. I totally agree with you on that one. The Texans is another primetime game. The Texans is low-key became like another rivalry for us. Like, it seems like from ever since, you know, Andy Dalton and them got here in this era, we just had this rivalry with the Texans. It's like we can't get past the Texans. Even last year, I was still upset about that Texans game.
Me too. Like, every year, like past 4 years, I feel like. Maybe 5. It's the Texans.
And it's like for some reason they have our number. I don't know what it is. And it was like last year was very close, and I still don't understand how we lost that game. But, yeah, I definitely have to go with the Texans. I'm going to go with – I really think that the Lambeau game is tough, but just to switch it up a little bit, I'm going to go with week 11 at Denver. Playing in that mile high and, you know, playing at that high altitude, playing against the Denver Broncos. And the reason I say that is going to be a true test of whether or not this offensive line is ready. Because when we played them last year, oh, my God, they got destroyed. Like, Von Miller had a field day. So, you know, we're going up against them. And then speaking of just Von Miller, not only Von Miller, but who's the guy there? Trevor Siemian. Siemian had a field day, too. It was like –
really did.
The guy really threw for 400 or something yards. And I was like, is this Peyton Manning? Like, what are we doing here, guys?
Yo, it's that fourth quarter advantage they have for training at that altitude. Like, everybody they play at home, watch them in the fourth quarter. Like, everybody's defense, everybody's offensive line, fourth quarter when they're playing in Denver, it's just like they can't keep up. And that's when Denver starts shining, like, because they have that conditioning. They're used to playing in that altitude and getting through 4 quarters worth of football. Yeah, man, that game last year, oh, yeah. Trevor Siemian was looking like Peyton Manning Jr.
Right. It was just – and I don't understand that with us. It's like we play these random no-name quarterbacks. And even going back to the Texans, who was that dude?
Oh, my God, the backup.
TJ Yates.
Yes.
TJ Yates. Oh, my God. I still have
the playoffs.
nightmares.
That was the year we were supposed to win. We were supposed to win because he was like third string quarterback, and we let TJ Yates beat us in the playoffs. Like, what the hell? Oh my God, I was so mad that year. So
And
mad.
I'm not sure if that was the same year. I think no. I think the first time we played them in the playoffs when Schaub was the quarterback, Schaub didn't even like throw a touchdown and they still beat us.
Yeah.
I was so mad about that. I'm still, I don't know if you remember that game, but I'm still mad about Chris Crocker getting like mauled on his way to the end zone by Arian Foster. That was
Oh
just so
yeah.
nasty.
Yeah, no, I remember all the losses to the Texans vividly because they
Oh
were all
man.
games we could have won. We should have won and did
Right.
not.
Right, exactly. So just to recap, G's 3 games that she thinks are going to be the toughest. Number one was the Steelers. What is that? Week 13 on prime time. The
Monday night.
second one was the Houston Texans. That's week 2, and then actually back to back. So the Texans and then the Packers. So that's going to be a tough start for
That's
us
a
right
tough
there.
start. And it's a short week.
Right, coming out on a short week. That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. And my 3 are going to be that same Steelers game that she's talking about. And my second one is going to be the Texans as well. My third one is actually going to be Week 11 at the Broncos in the Mile High Stadium. But all in all, this schedule actually, the more that I kind of look at it, a lot
It's
of people
not bad
think
at
that
all.
it's like it's
Besides
not too bad. Those hiccup games right there, because you look at games like the Bills, you kind of can throw the Colts game in there. Jaguars is going to be an interesting one. My coworker is actually a Jags fan. He's kind of hyped for that game.
I think the surprise is going to be the Titans, though. I think the Titans game is going to be good.
Titans were actually pretty good last year. I don't know if
people were kind of
gave them
sleeping
the
on them.
credit. They definitely slept on them, and now they just signed Eric Decker, and you drafted Corey Davis. I don't think that's a gimme game for us.
Nope, not at all. I think it's going to be a surprise game. I think it's going to be a really good game.
Right.
More than anything. And then we play the Bears. That's a gimme game.
That's a gimme game right there. I wish we played the Jets again.
Me too.
Anybody that plays the Jets, that's just a gimme game right there.
Right.
But moving on. Oh, go ahead. You had something to say?
I'm glad we're not playing the Raiders.
Oh yeah, Raiders. That would be a tough game. That would actually be I would like to see that game though. I think
playoffs.
I think if we get to the playoffs, that would suck though. If we got to the playoffs and that was like our first wild card game, I could see something happening like that.
Yeah.
Like we have this great season or whatever, and then we have to play like a super tough team.
Right.
But moving on, I don't know if you saw it, G, but Drake Kirkpatrick actually had a camp this weekend in Gaston, and the 3 main people of his camp were himself, Antonio Brown, and AJ Green. It was pretty dope. I actually put up a couple of the highlights from the event up on the YouTube channel. But I say that to say this: there was a lot of back and forth in the Instagram live stream. AJ Green kind of went live at the event, and there was a lot of people in there saying AB or AJ, AB. All of this, who's better and everything, since they were at the same event. In your opinion, is the better receiver? Is it AJ Green or is it Antonio Brown?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't. That's so hard to say. And the reason I say that is because I feel like if AJ had Ben Roethlisberger as his quarterback, I feel like he would have the same level of success that Antonio Brown has with the Steelers. I just feel like they're both going to give you greatness, and they're equally great. Yes, they have some different playing styles, but I just think it's hard to put one above the other. And I think the deferring factor for them is their quarterback or who they're playing for, their team.
Okay, I can get with that. I totally agree. I actually did a video, I think it was a year ago, and this was coming off of the heels where AB just went like ham. Him and Julio went ham. And I kind of said a controversial statement, and I said that, I think AJ Green is actually better than him. And I broke it down by looking at the amount of targets that, Antonio Brown gets in the Steelers offense versus what AJ Green got. And I kind of did like a calculation on, okay, well, if AJ had this many targets and, calculating in his drop rates, so making sure that he's not going to catch every single thing, but just calculating, if he had the same amount of targets, what his numbers would be. And when I calculated them, he actually did better than AB. And so I was like, in my opinion, because of that, I feel like AJ Green would be a better quarterback. And it kind of rolls into what you said. his role in that Pittsburgh offense and the fact that Ben Roethlisberger basically runs their entire offense outside of Le'Veon Bell through him, I mean, he's going to get that volume. And AJ never really got that volume in 2015 because we had, Marvin Jones, we had Tyler Eifert, we had, Giovanni Bernard, all these guys that would take, Sanu as well, all these guys that would take targets away from him. And so we saw it last year, and it's crazy because I said that in 2015, and then flash forward to 2016, he actually starts to get those targets, and we see what happens. Like, he almost had 1,000 yards by week 10?
Exactly. Yes, that's true. I mean, in that aspect, you're right. AJ might be the better receiver, have that edge.
I mean, it's really apples and oranges. I think even if I say that AJ Green is better than Antonio Brown, it's not a wide margin in between as far as who's better. And it's almost kind of a sense of what's your flavor. Like, do you want a guy that can essentially do everything from the wide receiver position in AJ Green, or do you want a guy that can also take slants, go deep, and also return kicks like Antonio Brown? So it's almost like you kind of pick your poison on what you really want. But I mean, to me, with the clutch factor, not to say Antonio Brown isn't clutch either, but if I'm going based off of now, one thing I will say is when you looked at Antonio Brown, when Mike Vick jumped in there, or when another quarterback jumped in there like Landry Jones, you didn't see the same AB. I feel like with AJ, it doesn't matter who you throw in there.
He's going to get the ball.
He's still going to – right. We saw it with AJ McCarron. He still was productive against the Steelers in the playoffs. We also saw it, a lot of people forget, but his first game, Andy Dalton actually had gotten hurt on like that first drive, and they had to throw Bruce Gradkowski in there. And AJ Green's actual first catch that was a touchdown was from Bruce Gradkowski. So it's like you can put almost anybody in there with AJ Green, and he's going to do his thing. I can't say the same about AB. So with that being said, I'll give the slight advantage to AJ Green.
Very true statement. I didn't even think about it like that because, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is hurt a lot. Let's just throw that out there. And when Ben Roethlisberger is hurt, you're not seeing the production from AB. But it doesn't matter what's going on with AJ Green. Even when Andy's not in there, he's productive. He's the number one target when McCarron was in there.
Right.
He's still going to get the ball. And that might give him that edge.
Right.
But then you got to compare. But then I'm going to say I think that when it comes to route running, I think that Antonio Brown is a better route runner than AJ Green.
I can see that.
He's more effective in the slant. He's more effective in that 5 to 10 yard range than I think AJ Green is.
Right. I totally agree. Yeah, that's definitely – I could see how that would be the case because AJ can do things off of the slant, but I don't think anybody does anything better off the slant than AB in the NFL. And
so then I got this question then. Out of, let's say, AJ, AB, and Julio Jones.
I knew it.
Who's got it?
See, man,
my edge, why I'm going to say Julio Jones is because he's bigger and he's effective as a blocker as well.
That's a good point.
AJ and AB, I don't think they're going to create a hole or give a nice block like Julio Jones is.
That's a very good point. It's really tough to me because, in my opinion, I think it's almost a tie between AJ and Julio for that number one spot as far as being a receiver. And I feel like the second, it's not even really a tier, but I feel like the second tie would be between AB and Odell Beckham Jr. We can throw him in there too. Okay. I think Odell is kind of nasty too. But, man, when you're talking about AJ and Julio, it's tough for me to say. I don't watch as much as the Falcons, and I know you're in Atlanta. But I know that Julio is a beast, and I know that he did do Sherman in that Seattle game. I'm just going to go with AJ only because of the clutch factor. Like, AJ, whenever you need, like, that play, whether it's we didn't end up winning that game, but that game against the Ravens where he catches that Hail Mary that's, like, tipped up or whatever at the last second, the forced overtime. Yeah, I think that's
AJ got them hands.
AJ has them hands, man. I've never really seen outside of, I think it was either in the playoffs or some game, it might have been against the Steelers where he caught the ball, but then they like pushed it out and he fumbled it.
Yes, I know that play. And it was supposed to be a touchdown, and it was
And it was supposed to be a touchdown. That's the only time he hasn't come through. Like anytime, even going back to like his rookie year. And when I say clutch, I don't even just mean at the end of the game. I even mean when it's like a third down and 15 or 17. When you know that he's gonna come down with it. So that would be the only reason I would give the slight edge to him. Now I'm definitely not taking anything away from Julio because Julio is a beast. Like you said, he's bigger, he's faster. The blocking point that you made was a great point. I think that's very important, especially in the offense that they run. I think he's definitely a better blocker, like you said, than Julio and AB. But I think for my money, game on the line, I gotta go with AJ Green.
You're right.
I gotta go with AJ Green. If I'm throwing it up and it's a prayer, whoever's in there at quarterback, I'm going with AJ.
You're right. Absolutely. Those are, when you need that, even when you just need that conversion, like if you think it's a 4th and 2 and you want to throw it because you're not really sure about that running back, I'm pretty sure AJ Green's going to come down with that ball and give you that conversion.
Right. And don't get me wrong, there's no wrong answer. So I can agree with you saying Julio too.
You can make a good argument for anybody, but you're making a great argument for AJ today. I'm sold on AJ Green.
Right. Well, guys, with that being said, we're going to wrap it up, but I wanted to bring a special little item here for those who stayed and watched this entire stream. If you guys can see this right here, we have the autographed Ocho Cinco picture that I'm going to be giving away. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers on this channel, one lucky fan is actually going to get this Ocho Cinco autographed, obviously autographed, and it's legit too. It comes with the whole stamp of approval and everything. It looks like it's from Fanatics or something like that. But yeah, whoever is going to be one of those lucky 1,000 people that subscribe will definitely get this treat. I actually didn't want to get this away. I'm just being real because that's that. I've been wanting a Chad autograph picture for the longest. I actually bumped into Chad down here. I think he was here for like an Ernie Sims event or something like that. Cool. Didn't get his autograph though. Chad's my boy, but sometimes when you meet him in person, if you're not a female, he's kind of.
Oh, I was about to say, I haven't had nothing but pleasant encounters. I've run into him a couple of times.
Hey, Chad loves the ladies. I'm telling you, I don't know. It could have been because of the timing, because this was around like 2000. It probably was around 2008 too, and it was when he wanted that trade. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe that could have been what.
And he's just having a bad day.
Yeah, he was just having a bad one. But, one lucky winner will definitely get that. But with that being said, G, did you have anything that you wanted to say before we sign off?
Am I allowed to enter? No, I'm kidding. I kid. I want to.
You are one of the subscribers. I just don't want them to be like, oh, that was an inside plan.
Right. True.
But if I figure out how to randomize it and you win it, hey, they can't really be mad at that.
Lucky me.
Right. Hey, but with that, go ahead, G.
I know. I'm going to say happy Sunday, guys.
Likewise. You guys enjoy your Sunday. And as usual, it's Who Day all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.
All right.